There we go. Um, yeah, AJ and I and Sean are super excited to present an opportunity to get on. This is one of our smaller deals that we've done, um, but it's nonetheless a great opportunity. Um, and yeah, as well, I want to introduce Sean Poggi. He is leading our asset management team and really doing a pretty fantastic job. I'm super impressed with the work he's been doing and just stoked to have him on the team. Um, and so he and I have been working really hard on this opportunity and um, are excited to force the appreciation uh, up on this particular property very quickly. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, Sean, you want to anything to say or?
Yeah. It's a unique property. I know Chris is going to share more, but just have done a lot of pre-work to hit the ground running on this one. And I think there's a significant value add opportunity. So I'm super excited about it and excited for us to close and get going on it because there's a ton of potential here.
Yeah. Well, just thank you for all your hard work on getting our, construction schedules and scopes of work all together. Yeah, it's going to make this project much, much easier. But I guess to get started, I'll introduce my brother, AJ. AJ Shepard. Uh, he and I started Uptown Properties in 2011, and we have bought, quite a few deals since then. I think we were mentioning we bought every year since 2006. Um, Uptown Properties is our property management wing. In 2011, AJ and I got our professional licenses. He got the contractor's license for our contracting arm. And then I got my broker's license. And then as well, AJ got the property management license. And since 2011, we've been able to, do some pretty fun stuff. And our team is growing. And we started syndicating properties in 2019. AJ, why don't you chat about our first deal that we did?
Yeah. The first deal was actually kind of a little bit like this. It was a 9 unit. It was spread over a couple different tax lots. We raised 400K for a $1.25 million purchase. We did it with hard money, knowing that there was some issues. I think there was a hole in one of the bathroom floors and just some stuff to get fixed up. We held that for 5.5, 6 years. We did a refinance like within 6 months of that particular deal on 68th and Tualatin. One thing we learned then was that if we refinance within a year, we have to get valued at loan to cost instead of loan to value. Our appraisal came in at 1.8 when we did that refinance, but we were only able to get loans of like 1.2 just because of the way that we financed that. This particular deal is going to be a little bit different than that, I believe. So we ended up selling that property for $2,050,000, and I think we returned almost over $1 million to investors on that original deal, hitting a 20 plus IRR. So that was a kind of feather in our cap for last year. It's the first one that we've gone full cycle on. And we are looking at a couple of the other deals that we did shortly after that. We're now looking to put those up on the market and have some successive wins like that as well. So yeah, it's been good, and we're excited to do some more.
Phenomenal. Yeah, and on that first deal, we raised $400,000,
Yep.
and we're able to. AJ mentioned we were able to return 1 million, so it was about a 2.5x over 5.5 years. It was a fun deal. There's a little bit of stress, but we got it done and did well on it. Okay, and so yeah, are there any other deals on our track record you want to mention, AJ? We pull up. Yeah, why don't we?
Let's get this one presented, and
Okay.
then we can talk about our track record afterwards.
All right. Well, so this is an 8-unit deal by Southridge High School. It's kind of southern Beaverton, pretty close to Tigard. Um, AJ and I own a fourplex, maybe a couple blocks away from this property, so we're pretty familiar with the, I guess, the neighborhood and exactly what we're able to achieve. Um, you know, Essentially, this eightplex is two of the buildings that we own. And it's the exact same floor plan. We're very familiar with it. And this is kind of one of our bread and butter deals. In the past, AJ and I would probably have looked at just buying this and keeping it in our portfolio, but we want to present the opportunities that we find to our investors, and kind of grow the pie, make it essentially.
On that note, we think that there's going to be more deals like this to come too. So, being, as Chris mentioned earlier, potentially at the bottom of the market, if not, like a lot of the loans that were originated in 2020 to 2022 are starting to go to variable, and like we're starting to see some more traction on deal flow in the market. So we are hopeful and optimistic about the upcoming opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we're acquiring these 8 units for 1.14 million. It's about 142K per unit, and we are budgeting $160,000 for CapEx. And yeah, so the total project cost is coming out to about 1.37 million. And the expected value, we believe it will be, well, actually, the appraisal value that we got from our appraisal was 1.6 million after our repairs are completed. And so that's exciting for us that we're able to just create that much value pretty much on acquisition.
That appraisal is in line with what the market is as well. Typically, like most fourplexes are going from anywhere from like $750 to $1 million when they're performing well, right, Chris?
Yeah, I mean the fourplex market is still very strong because the lending environment is very strong, with Fannie and Freddie being able to loan on those. Okay. So our plan for acquiring this property is we are going to acquire it with a hard money loan, and we're getting 80% LTV on the loan or on the purchase, and so that is 912,000. Once we complete our value add, we will swiftly switch to a permanent loan. A Chase is probably a viable option, but as well, we have been working with Pacific West Bank, and so we may use them for the refinance.
So one thing to note too, Fannie and Freddie, the agency debt has discontinued their small balance loan program, the SBL, and we're still waiting to hear exactly what they're going to do, but we've heard that they've increased the loan proceeds to 2 million. So
minimum.
This will likely, 2 million minimum. So this will likely not qualify for agency debt, which is a slight risk.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Maybe they'll come back into the market at some point, but there are many very good bank options. So On Point is another lender that has our file in their system, so we plan on using them as well. We've used Columbia Bank, and as the market gets better and as things improve, more lenders will come back into the space, and that's basically exactly what happened in 2008. I was chatting with the broker at Chase, and he said that Chase completely shut down all of their lending in 2008, 9, and 10, and then they came back in. So the fact that they're lending right now, um, you know, is a vote of confidence for Portland. So, um, yeah, let's chat about the uh, the IRR. So we're expecting we're projecting a 17% IRR on this project, and essentially, um, the cash on cash return is is going to be a little slower in year one, since we'll be adding value and spending the cash that we're getting. Um, but we expect to return a little bit of capital, and then as well, the cash on cash will ramp up um, each year. And so, if we're able to perform quickly on this project, we should see, you know, decent preferred returns. But essentially, with preferred returns, the the idea of a preferred return, and I guess let me go back and explain preferred returns. So a preferred return is paid out of cash flow, if it's available, and essentially our promise is that we're not going to take a cut of the cash flow or the profit of the deal, um, until we pay our investors at least 7%. And so, um, you know, that is why the preferred return is in place, is we want to make sure that, you know, we have a, you know, like a minimum goalpost to hit uh, before, you know, before we start taking a portion of the profit. And so that's, you know, we're never going to look at a deal that we don't think that we're going to be able to hit our IRR, and then as well we stress test it so to make sure that all of the deals that we do are going to hit um, the preferred return. And so, you know, obviously investments are a risk, um, but we do everything that we can to plan around making sure that we're going to be able to eventually pay the preferred return. Um, so, yeah, AJ, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean the reason we set it at 7% is to be comparable with the stock market. Um, and so it's like we are making sure that the investor, if they were placing their money someplace else, that it's super comparable to that. And then after that, we start taking some fees. You know, we do 20% up to a 15% IRR. And then after the 15% IRR, we take 50%. So we are aligned with the investor to make sure that the deals go very well. We get paid more if it performs better.
Yeah. Um, so I guess as far as let's take a look at the project timeline. So this is kind of a projected plan. You know, with this property, we expect to acquire it. We're going to acquire it May 15th, or sooner. And the value add plan. Sean, why don't you pop back on and give us the rundown of our immediate plans, like within the first couple months.
Yeah, so essentially we're acquiring the property with 3 units vacant. And we've already landed contractors to start with exterior and interior work, which both need some For the 3 units, we're going to renovate those up to, quartz countertops, new flooring, new cabinets in the units, as well as improving the bathroom spaces. So units are going to look a lot nicer, and we'll be able to have higher rents for those units. And then also the exterior actually has a T111, which we're going to replace a significant amount of the T111. And I think this building is going to look the nicest within the kind of cul-de-sac that it's in, because it'll be the only one that has some hardy plank siding on it. And so we'll really give it a newer look. We're planning on having that happen at the end of May to kick it off. And I mean, I have been chatting with Chris, really targeting to have these turnovers done within about 3 weeks of acquisition, and get those units rent ready. So we have a really aggressive timeline for these first 3. We're also going to be trying to move around some tenancy to hopefully interest them in these new units so that we can tackle those other units in the building to provide a value add for as many as we can, as quickly as we can, to really increase rents at the property, and elevate the living condition at that space. So we've kind of locked in a lot of contractors already. We've got bids for a lot of it, and really trying to move quickly. So I'm sure Chris is tired of me asking whether the closing date is going to move, because
it is not.
All of those things.
Closing May 15th.
Yeah, I just keep asking those questions, but just want to check in. And again, so October 26th, with the value add plan ending. If it ends in October, then I think we're missing the mark. Definitely targeting to complete most of the value add sooner than that. So,
yeah. Well, so the numbers that we have projected are for a sale in 5 years. We are planning to refinance the property out of the hard money loan as quickly as we can. I know that AJ mentioned we would be locked in at loan to cost. And, that I think that is just something that we're going to have to deal with, because the loan that we're acquiring the property with is 10%. And so it's a $912,000 loan. So 10% for the year would be, $91,000. And that's an expensive amount of interest to pay. So we want to get out of that hard money loan as quickly as possible. And so once the property qualifies for a mortgage that we're interested in, then we're just going to go for it and kind of eat the loan to cost situation. So, and as well, it's really tough to get aggressive appraisal and aggressive valuation
in such a short time frame.
Yeah. Especially when we're acquiring the property at this price, which is,
significantly under market.
Yeah. So to give some reference, so we bought our fourplex down the street. It was on the corner, so a little, I would say, a little bit nicer lot. We purchased that for $350,000, but essentially we had to take it down to studs. And this property, we do not have to take it down to studs. Essentially, I think AJ and I, we bought that in 2014. We ended up investing, I think, $180,000 into it. And so our cost at the property in 2014 was about 530. Yeah, 530,000. So that, multiply that out.
And then we got a loan on it and it appraised for 750. So
yeah, but if you multiply that by 2, that's 1,060,000, and we're acquiring this property for
nearly 10 years later too.
1.14. Yes, we are investing, roughly. I mean, I hope that we can keep the CapEx budget to about 120,000, but we are budgeting for 120,000 or 160,000 of capex. And so, yeah, it's in line with a very good purchase. So we're projecting a 17% IRR. With a sale at a 6% cap rate. We're acquiring it a little bit less than a 6, so that's how we calculate our sale values. Is we add a little bit to be a little more conservative.
Chris, why don't you go over what the rents are now and then what we get over at Longhorn?
Okay. Yeah, so Longhorn Lane is the fourplex that we own. So current rents right now, I think, are averaging about $1,300 a month. At Longhorn, we are at $1,595 and $1,695 for the lower units with the yards, and we are billing back utilities to those tenants. And so, essentially, the opportunity is pretty solid to increase rents, and
that's a 30% increase on rents.
Yeah, and those are proven numbers that we're currently getting. So yeah, here's the property, and yeah, this is just a bread and butter deal for us.
Yeah. Should we take questions if anybody has any questions?
Absolutely.
Hey, I got one for you guys.
Great.
Your property on Longhorn, are those upgraded the same way that you're talking about upgrading these units?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we did LVP courts, new cabinets. I think we had 2 different cabinet manufacturers in that one, but yeah.
All right. I've got 2 fourplexes on Gingham, so pretty close to these. They're lightly upgraded, and I'm getting about 1545 on those. So I think that makes sense if you're doing cabinets, counters, and fully going through, but it is the market.
So, and we're projecting. I'm doing all of my underwriting based off 1550 rents.
Okay.
And assuming 7% vacancy. So those are the numbers that we're underwriting off of, and I feel like that's relatively conservative.
Yeah, they rent easily over there. That's what I'm seeing online is that 1545, 1550 without doing much.
Yeah, Longhorn's been it's been a good performer for us too. So we've been happy with that property.
Nice. That's all I've got.
Cool.
Anybody else got other questions?
Yeah, I've got one. Just knowing the area as well, this seems incredibly undervalued to what you guys are buying it at. How are you getting this deal? Like, why is it being sold at this price?
Well, it was listed at 1.4. We got into contract at 1.3, and then, it needs some work. I mean, we're having to do siding work. We've got there's grass growing in the gutters currently, so we're going to put on new gutters. Potentially, the roof. I believe the roof looks pretty decent. I believe it's got about 10 years left on it. I don't want to replace it, but we will replace the gutters. Oh, go ahead.
We also got this from Ben, right?
Yeah, from Ben Murphy.
So
it was an off-market deal.
Off-market deal. We know we have a great relationship with the broker, and he really wanted us. I mean, the guy wanted to sell it and didn't want to do anything to it, and we were able to take advantage of that.
You guys were the easy button. Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Hey, just market the gutters as a green roof, and it's a feature.
It's not been good for the siding. Yeah. But yeah.
Thanks, guys. That's all I had.
Okay. Cheers.
Anybody else?
if I can just chime in one more thing, like the market cycle here, I believe it really is going to make a big difference. And AJ and I have been buying property every year. We bought properties in 2021, we bought properties in 2022 and 2023, and we have faced a little bit of headwinds on those deals that we purchased in 2020, 21, 22, 23. But the deals that we've been buying recently, the the opportunity, like they're getting easier to manage, and there's less pressure, and so it really does feel like we are at
Coming coming
at
out of it.
a to buy. So, um, yeah,
I mean, the other thing that we should talk about too is like Portland in general.
yeah,
Like there's no new starts going on. The governor, kind of pressured Portland to put up 5,000 units with no SDC fees, and we still don't have many new projects in the pipeline. I think the construction of the newer apartments is coming to an end, and the absorption is almost done. So what, from an economic standpoint, when we, stop adding supply, and this is nationwide too. There's a lot of other cities that have this kind of same story, is that, when the developers stop developing, that's when the existing product, we start seeing, abnormally high rental increases, just because of the lack of supply. And Portland still has a positive, population migration, which is great. I think we were just labeled as like the number one city to move to on United Van Lines or something, which seems ridiculous, but it's
Oregon
still
being
it's
number one for net migration.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So, but that's another thing to kind of add here, as like we are, looking out into the future, as like, there was a huge run up of rents from 2013 to 2016, where stuff was increasing more than 10% per year, and that's kind of when they decided that, oh, we can't have this. Like that's when they imposed that rent control on us, or the relocation assistance in Portland. So I'm not saying that we're going to see those 10% increases again, but I definitely think that the overall macroeconomics of Portland in general is going to be favorable to existing product.
yeah, and I'll just reiterate, the permits, and the delivery and the absorption, like there is going to be a supply shortage, and that was what was experienced in 2015, 16, and 17. Um, so that's a huge opportunity. As well, Portland is much cheaper than almost all cities on the West Coast, and we have fantastic natural resources here. Mount Hood, the beach. It's the people who moved to Texas, you know to Florida, that like they're gonna come back. It is gonna be a cycle, and we can already see it with the net migration um, survey. And so, yeah, I mean we're very pro Portland. We bought here every year, and as well we're seasoned operators, and we're growing our team in becoming more and more efficient. So I'm really excited about this opportunity and future opportunities. Like we're really hunting for great deals that we can buy at a great basis. Um, we did recently just pass on a deal in Southwest Portland. It seemed like it was a great basis, but um, in the end, the fact that those units didn't have washer and dryer.
Or a dishwasher. Damn, there was
Yeah, I
no
mean,
room
we
to
could
put
we
them
could
in.
put the dishwashers in, but not being able to put in washer and dryer is like that's a big deal. And so these units having that, I mean, when there's a little bit more vacancy in the MSA, the units that have washer and dryer do much better. And so that's why we think this is a great opportunity. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, last chance. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much for coming to our webinar. If anything does come up, feel free to reach out to Chris or myself or Sean. We're happy to answer any questions. The one thing we should note is when we originally put this out on Friday, we were still intending to go with a regular bank, and we had sent out a 500K raise. We've now changed it to hard money, getting a good deal, which reduces the amount that we need to raise, which also reduces the maximum. So the max we're going to take on this is a 50K investment from anyone.
Isn't it 60?
Yeah, it's 60, but 50 is just a nice number.
Okay.
There's five shares at 50K available, and you can only grab one. So we're investing 50K ourselves into it. So that 300 really just went down to 250 quite quickly.
Yeah. We do have another 10plex on Southeast Stark and 19th at Street, which is it's a similar deal. Sean and I are working really hard on the value add plan there, and we're super excited about it. We're going to have 10 vacant units there. It's a it's a income restricted to market rate conversion that we're purchasing from Home Forward. And they just did, I think, $1 million renovation to the property about 10 years ago. And so it's a very nice property, except it's been beat up a little bit by some bad tenants. So we're excited to get that one.
Yeah, that one will be coming out as soon as we get this one closed.
Yeah. I was going to say, this is a good warm up for Southeast Stark. And yeah, the location is awesome. Just in that little pocket next to Revolution Hall.
Yeah. Well, this property, as I don't know who was talking, but this is also a super desirable location. It has always been easy to rent out Longhorn. There's just, I think the school districts are good, and
Southbridge, and then the elementary school right there.
And the families like it. There's lots of parks kind of nearby, lots of common space. Like it's a really good area, and we like it because we're super familiar with it too. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for coming. Appreciate it. And we look forward to your investment.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.